You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Studios in Los Angeles. Here's Eddie Garcia.
In postseason baseball, opening game of the National League Championship Series, and the Dodgers cruised to a 9-0 win over the Mets. LA starter Jack Flaherty, 7 shutout innings, allowed just 2 hits in the win. Mookie Betts drove in 3 runs. Max Muncy had a couple of RBI as LA grabs a 1-0 series lead with their 3rd straight shutout win this postseason. Checking games of note from Week 6 in the NFL, the Ravens beat the Commanders 30-23. Both teams are 4-2, but Baltimore's won 4 straight. Lions crushed the Cowboys in Dallas 47-9, but in the win, Detroit lost star pass rusher Aiden Hutchinson into a broken leg. He likely is going to miss the rest of the season. Texans get their first ever win over the Patriots on the road, 41-21. Houston's 5-1. Packers beat the Cardinals 34-13. Green Bay 4-2. Buccaneers over the Saints 51-27. Tampa Bay's 4-2. Steelers are 4-2. They beat the Raiders on the road 32-13, and the Falcons are 4-2 with a 38-21 over the Panthers.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into this Monday edition of the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box I Care. We have a manic Monday, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have Kennington Smith III joining us. Is it time to talk about, is this coaching staff in over its head? A win is a win at the end of the day, and much, much more.
Ooh, good morning, Alabama fans. How you guys doing? I'm out on assignment, but I could not miss today. So glad that you all have got up and at 'em with us on this beautiful Monday morning. It is a manic Monday. I know there's a lot of Tide fans that have a lot of negativity and concerns and all of that. But hey guys, this may be the new SEC. I've seen references to this team reminding them somewhat of like Alabama in 92, minus the great defense, but playing close games against certain opponents and then blowing out and dominating good opponents. Is this what this team is going to be built for? Or should we be concerned, as Xavier asked the question, is this coaching staff in over his head? I'm not ready to go there. I'm different, I guess. But I do have some open and honest opinions for you today, and glad that you've gotten up and at them with us to talk about them. Want to remind you that it is the Martin Houston Show powered by Box I Care, and the phone lines are open 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions hotline. Empowermentstrategy.com, empowerment spelled with an M, empowermentstrategy.com. Find out more about our organization. We speak, we coach, we train. Well, with that said, I want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, and be the difference you want to see in the world today. And for those of you, of course, who join on the live stream, know that you can always add your thoughts, comments, and reactions, and we'll work them into the conversation as well.
Yeah, I mean, this Bama game, another thriller against an unexpected opponent. Got to win 27-25. But, man, it looked like at one point Bama was going to pull away with this game, dominate this game, and then it took about a minute and a half to go, oh, no, we're in a dogfight. And Bama remained there the rest of the game.
Cockfight.
What?
I said cockfight.
What were your thoughts on the game?
My thoughts on the game. First of all, Alabama did get a win, and Vanderbilt got a win. So kudos to the two good guys, right? we need Vanderbilt to go on a run. Vanderbilt needs to go on a run. That's all I'm gonna say about Vanderbilt, maybe. But no, stuff like this happens. It was some questionable choices made once again in coaching. And I know I can't say this. I put all of this, I think it's between the ears. And I think it all goes back to the trick play against Georgia. I've never seen a more dominant team wear crimson up until that point. I really hadn't, Xavier. That was as dominant a performance as I'd ever seen. 28-0 against Georgia, and they had no hope. None. And we were going down to make it 35. I think if we just keep doing what we're doing, we're making it 35. And we did that, and from that point on, this team has struggled offensively. This team has struggled defensively. I hope everybody saw for the last two games what happened when you try to be something that you're not offensively. Just go out and run the freaking offense. And when we went through Jalen, I think Jalen was injured at the end of the game, Max. But
yeah,
he didn't seem like his explosive self. But when we ran through him earlier, he was dominant. So that's my thoughts. Give your thoughts and let's get a couple callers.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on Saturday. The trick plays that Alabama is running, it throws everything off. It throws momentum off, and it seems like Alabama has a hard time recovering from that. Even it's not really a trick play, but the tight end screen, we saw that drive was moving, taking off, and then we do that, and then it just shuts everything down. Defense was interesting. Defense was about as dominant and as passive as it could be in a single game, the way it went, because it was, you look at the game, but Alabama had 4 turnovers. 4 turnovers, like making key plays, but then we just couldn't put it all together on that side. But we couldn't put it together on offense. This was the worst offense has looked all season. Alabama's offense had been pretty good up until this point, even in the Vandy game, when you talk about 35 points in 18 minutes of possession. But that was off, and I do think Jalen was banged up. He didn't look like he was running hard, and I think that caused a change in the offense. But we have Pat here on the Empowerment Strategy Solution Hotline to talk about the game. How you doing this morning, Pat?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, I'm ready for Martin's backside chewing this morning because I'm on it this morning. If y'all not ready to fire that special teams coordinator by now, after Andy fiasco and the fiasco of losing that onside kick, you do not reach for a ball on an onside kick. My son holds a state record in Mississippi. They had 9 onside kicks in 1 year, and he was the kicker. And they practiced onside kicks at least 45 minutes every day.
Pat,
they got the ball back. Go ahead.
Pat, I don't think he reached for it. I think that ball came to him. I think the type of kick they used a punter, was execution. My question is, why do you have tight ends and defensive linemen and linebackers on your hands team versus?
Exactly my point. Martin, he's got to be fired. He's got to be fired. Coach Saban used 5-star players on his teams. He's got to be fired. There's no excuse.
Well, I'm not ready to call for him to be fired, but because I have to ask the question is, why did you have that philosophy, Ed? That's my question is out of a timeout and all that. Why is now some people do that. That's not unusual, but those guys go block. But you have the hands guys mixed in there. And I didn't see the skill guys, and they may have been out there. I didn't see a full shot of it. So I don't know who all was out there, but the ones I saw out there just wasn't good. Thanks.
It's the number.
Terrible. That was all
it's the number
it's time for him to go.
Big boys.
It's time for him
it's the number of big boys.
2 games in a row. Time for him to go.
Okay.
Man, we'll see the rest of the callers again with me.
All right, Pat. Appreciate it, Pat. No, it's the number of big boys that you got out there. It's not, like you said, it's not unusual to have a few, but you had a couple tight ends, and Bama's tight ends are 270, 260. These are big boys. And then you had the defensive lineman. You saw Lawson out there. You saw Latham out there. And those guys would normally hit you in the mouth, but I'll say that South Carolina's kick was perfect. Cuevas went down to get it, and that thing took an odd bounce. And once it took that odd bounce, it was like, oh, no. But also, you realize we have fumbled on a kickoff return 4 of the 6 games this year?
Yep.
That's more of a concern for me. If our guys get hit, they lose the ball. And so I'm almost at the point, take it into 25 and let's go. It's not worth the risk anymore from that point. But we also have Robert on the hotline. How you doing this morning, Robert?
Wow, I didn't realize it was, you said 4 out of 6 kickoffs? Or what was that? What was that stat?
4 of the 6. The only games we had, if you go back and look, against Western Kentucky, we didn't return a kickoff. South Florida, Kendrick Law fumbled. Didn't have one against Wisconsin, and then Ryan dropped the kickoff right before Georgia took the lead. And then you turn around and you look at last week, even though Emmanuel Henderson's elbow was down, he gets hit, fumbles against Vandy, and then he had the actual fumble Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, Robert, instead of you trying to respond, we're a little over break here, so we'll just hold you to the other side and bring you in with Kennington coming out of the break. That way we don't have to rush your conversation. Hey, you listen to the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It's a Manic Monday. You can get in on the conversation, tell us what you're thinking, and so on and so forth. And we'll be back on the other side to keep it rolling right here on your home for Alabama Sports. Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good Monday morning to you. We're getting off to a nice and quiet start along the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Taking a look here at 359. We're not doing so shabby at all. 359 at 2059, that is. And then moving about McFarland Boulevard.
Now that's how you get porch traffic.
This week only. Save 20% on costumes with Target Circle and 20% off candy. Make your Halloween come alive at Target. Restrictions apply.
Visit the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at midtown.com. TJ and his team are looking for the opportunity to provide you with great services, including compounding, home delivery, and a whole lot more. You're looking for a great pharmacy that'll take care of all of your needs, including wellness classes, including health and more. That's the pharmacy at Midtown. Call them at 205-579-9933. You're looking for a great pharmacy. You need to try the pharmacy at Midtown. That's the pharmacy at Midtown, pharmacy at Midtown.com. midtown.com. Hey, I'm Martin Houston, and I want to tell you about exciting news happening at Box Eye Care. They moved to their new location, bringing you a brand new lab, stylish new frames, and a fresh look just for you. Enjoy their expanded frame inventory, competitive prices, and faster service, all with the same great level of service you've come to know and trust. Discover this full-service eye care at Box Eye Care's new location. With their in-house lab, they offer unbeatable value and one of the largest frame collections in town. Schedule your eye exam today and walk out with new glasses in less than an hour in most cases. Visit boxeyecare.com. That's boxeyecare.com, or call 205-342-0660. That's 205-342-0660. Visit them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. That's Box Eye Care. Your vision, our priority.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The weather breezy and noticeably cooler today. Sunny with a high at 73. Clear tonight, the low 68. Tomorrow and Wednesday, the sky's sunny both days. The cooling trend continues. The high tomorrow is 69. The high Wednesday at 62. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 63 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. As we continue this Monday edition, we are joined by Kenyon Smith III. But before we do that, we have Robert on the phone line to continue the conversation. How you doing this morning, Robert?
Hey, guys. I managed to make the game at the last minute as a surprise ticket someone got for me. So, sure, let's go up there and watch Alabama make this big comeback from the embarrassment of Vanderbilt. It was 6 hours, the round trip from me to Mobile to Tuscaloosa. It was kind of... I think I'd enjoy watching this more on TV. You know, it's like you look at the playing better than watch this on TV. I know you guys know what a trend analysis is. I'm sure you've probably done a few. And the trend right now is not very good. It seems like we peaked at the first half of the Georgia game, and it's been trending down every quarter since. And I don't know what it's going to take to get us back on the right trend, but the trend is going down. Now, like it's been said, like Ryan Fowler keeps saying, this is the new college football, and I think someone said, Clinton Dick said, the SEC especially, it's looking like the NFL, as in week to week. There's no such thing as a team that can't beat you this year. So, I mean, I guess it is what it is, but the trend we're on right now is not very good. And I blame primarily defense, there's no question about it. And you guys are right about that tight end screen. It didn't work. That seems to be played a lot of things and able to recover from.
Rob. Go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the trend has definitely been down, and this coaching staff has to figure out how to right the ship because, I mean, the Vandy game, once we were down 13-0, we were in chase mode, and there was no adjustments being made to stop it. And then you look at this past week, and it was like, man, when we pressure South Carolina, this freshman quarterback struggles. And it's just like we wouldn't consistently do that on the defensive side of the ball. So it just kind of makes you wonder, what is Alabama doing?
Yeah. Kennington, your thoughts? Thanks, Robert.
Yeah, I agree. As far as trending down, I would say if we're looking at all three phases, defense and special teams, I think are particularly concerning if we're talking about who's trending upwards or downwards. So the coaches do need to find a way to, put players in better positions, but also the players have to do a better job of executing. I mean, defense in particular, 11 missed tackles on Saturday. That's a season high. It's been a concerning trend that's kind of progressively gotten worse as the season has gone on. So I think there's plenty of accountability on both sides between the coaches and the players. So collectively, Alabama needs to elevate their level of play because, Saturday, I think, is going to reveal a lot about this team. Same thing can be said about Tennessee, too. I think Saturday is kind of a de facto SEC championship play out game, potentially a playoff elimination type game. Whoever loses probably going to have to run the table to have a chance at the playoffs. So I think we're going to learn a lot about Bama on Saturday.
Yeah, and I want to say this. Virgil Williams had said something about the team not being able to tackle, and I agree that it got worse Saturday. But I think if you watch college football in general, nobody can tackle. I would hate to see Derrick Henry playing against college now with the whole shoulder, the targeting game. Everybody talks about these other things. The targeting rule is killing college football. Because guys break tackles because guys now don't even lead with a wrap-up. They lead with a shoulder to get their head out of the way. And I think it's manifesting itself. So, and if you watch, I think you see that not just at Alabama. This defense, confidence, people, I have said this for years. Confidence is a strange bedfellow. If you have it, and you have decent talent, you can play with anybody. If you don't have it and you have talent galore, anybody can play with you. And what we have right now is we had a supremely confident team going into that Georgia game, Kennington. And somehow with the decisions and the way we decided to play the second half, we lost it all. And it's began to trend down. Now, what did we say all Vanderbilt week? And what did we say all last week? We began to dog an offense that worked, right or wrong. Hey, right. They need to do this to help because we started telling the offense that they need to play defense. It's pretty much what we started saying after the Vanderbilt game, after 35 points. And scoring on 5 of 8 possessions. And it looked like these coaches listened to our radio shows. Kennington, I do think Jalen got hurt in that game. Even though I haven't heard anything or not, I think Jalen, or he was concerned with being hurt. But when this offense runs through Jalen, everybody needs to get used to it. We have a dual threat quarterback. We have Jayden Daniels. How stupid would it be for LSU last year or the prior 2 years to go, you know what? We need to help our defense. Let's stop using Jayden Daniels. Let's stop running the offense through him. Let's worry about whether he has more yards, the running backs have more yards, or he has more yards. That's what we're starting to say about this offense since the Georgia game. And since that time, since we started trying to do that, now our defense has been playing average and under, and our offense is playing just average. That's a problem. You better go back to what got you there offensively. And I would love, Kinsey, you're a stats guy, and I'll turn it to you after this statement. What's our success rate when we blitz? Has to be high.
Yeah, well, I can just let you know about South Carolina specifically. Give me 1 second. Alabama blitzed 26.8% of the time against South Carolina. Season average is 12%. So 12% is one of the lowest in college football. It was around that against Vanderbilt.
Going into the game.
Yeah, 12% going into the game. It was around 12%, maybe even a little less than that against Vanderbilt. You saw how comfortable Diego Pavia was. 27% against South Carolina, which equated to a 48.8% pressure rate on dropbacks. So half the time South Carolina dropped back, they were getting pressure on him. The blitz especially works on third down. You saw that they were forcing Lenore Sellers to get the ball out of his hands, and that's how you saw the Devontae Smith forced fumble, the Jalen Mbakwe stop before the fourth down touchdown. It did work. It did work well. So they're not a blitzing team by nature. That's kind of what Kane Womack does. If you followed what he did at South Alabama, he relies on his front four to get pressure. But we do see that it is very effective, and that's what he did against Georgia in the first half. Dialed up a lot of pressure, and you saw the results with Carson Beck being, pretty confused. So this game was kind of reverting back a little bit to the Georgia game, which if you're looking for positives on defense, I feel like that was a positive sign.
But he did it, and then he went stretches where he didn't do it, and they were successful. Then when we had to do it again, when we did it, and it worked. The problem isn't the percentage to me. It was the inconsistent utilization of it in key moments, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was definitely some moments where you felt like he should have brought pressure. I do feel like, again, I guess to play a little bit of devil's advocate, there's a little bit of player execution on this as well. I'm thinking about that first drive in the second half where it's 3rd and 15, Bama dropped 7 or 8, yet South Carolina was still able to find a soft spot in the middle of that zone defense, get a conversion, eventually score a touchdown. So that's something that just cannot happen. So I agree with you. I do like to see more consistencies with the pressure because it's pretty undeniable at this point that when they bring pressure, they do affect the quarterbacks and good things tend to happen. And the pass rush has been strong. I mean, LT Overton, he's not finishing sacks and tackles for loss maybe at the rate that you would expect, but he's getting back there. Tim Smith's been very effective over the last few games. Tim Keenan had a really strong start to the year. Jamarian Latham, I thought, had a good game rushing the passer as well. So pass rush is there. Just need to see a little bit more consistency from the play caller in terms of getting those players in position to affect the quarterback.
Really quick, do you think it's more likely for somebody to get a 3rd and 15 against the zone or against the pressure that's getting to the quarterback?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. X, go ahead.
Yeah, speaking of that 3rd and 15, yeah, that's something that we talked about. The crazy part, this vision defense, I think, can be really good or really bad depending on if the players execute it. Because the crazy thing was they showed that from behind the quarterback, and you see it was Deontay Lawson and I think it was Devontae Smith. They're looking straight at Sellers, not aware of where the receiver is, and he curls right in between the two of them. And Sellers, who has an absolute cannon, rips it right between the two of them. And you're going, hey, if you got the vision is twofold. It's knowing where the receiver is and knowing where the quarterback's looking. Because if you're looking at the quarterback and you know where the receiver is, one of those guys easily jump that.
Yeah, right. And they were playing zone on that play, so vision coverage. They just executed zone poorly on that one. X. The vision coverage comes into play on more on man to man. But it's still letting guys run wide open. And I want to talk about the long touchdown that a lot of people dogged the young freshman. That was Malachi's fault. That was not that was a true too high zone. And if you go back and watch it, we'll talk about that play on the other side. As we get the break here, Dixie Battery Supply. Go to Dixie Battery Supply. They'll take care of all of your battery needs. You can find them online at DixieBatterySupply.com. That's DixieBatterySupply.com. And while you're there, make sure you ask them about the golf carts.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. A very good Monday morning to you. We're getting off to a nice and quiet start along the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Taking a look here at 359. We're not doing so shabby at all. 359 at 2059, that is. And then moving about McFarland Boulevard.
They serve in West Alabama. If they don't have what you're looking for on the lot, they'll find it for you. Check out the complete inventory at MercedesofTuscaloosa.com. Roll Tide.
Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They've been doing it the right way each and every day for 50 years and counting. If you're looking for a great option for lunch and or dinner, then you need to check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, and while you're there, don't forget to get a big glass of that sweet tea. Visit them.
Again, try the new 3-piece original recipe tenders, fries, and comeback sauce for $5. Only at KFC. Finger licking good. Prices and participation may vary. Taxes, tips, and fees extra.
Dixie Battery Supply takes care of all of your battery needs. Find the commercial batteries you're after and never feel powerless again. Come check out our Northport and Tuscaloosa locations or call us at 205-758-9190. And once again, power up all your devices by using Dixie Battery Supply, DixieBatterySupply.com. They offer
these changes within just a couple of days.
Text support to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9. And hey, don't forget about North River Timber Company, LLC, North River Timber CO at gmail.com. Courtney White and his team are ready to serve you in Tuscaloosa, West Alabama, and East Mississippi. Call Courtney White at 205-242-5127, North River Timber CO at gmail.com for timber harvesting, appraisals, and land management. That's North River Timber Company, LLC.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. And as we kick off the second half, Kennington, a question that I want to ask is, do you think at times this coaching staff seems in over their head with the way that these last couple games have gone?
I don't know if I would go that far. I think that there's some growing pains, obviously, when you're a first-year coaching staff. I think, Nick Sheridan and Caleb DeBoer, they've worked together, but that OC head coach relationship is different than going from, DeBoer and Ryan Grubb have been together for many years. Womack is trying to call his defense as well. So I think there's, growing pains. Again, I would also emphasize that there's been, some player execution issues too that have hurt the team. I think, Jalen Milroe has to hold some accountability for, the interceptions that he threw on Saturday, defense missing tackles. So I think it kind of goes both ways. I wouldn't venture all the way to say that they're in over their heads. I feel like it's a slight overreaction. But we can revisit this question after the Tennessee game. But I wouldn't go quite that far.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask it a different way. Is this coaching staff struggling? Not because I believe in Caleb DeBoer. I believe the dude can flat out coach. I believe Sheridan's going to grow along. I think OC struggle in today's game to not become part of the conversation. Meaning I said this about Kiffin. Sark's probably the best I've seen at it. But he would even do it sometimes down at the goal line, but not often, where he would make a call and you're like, dude, that was about you versus the team. Does Nick maybe struggle a little bit with that? So I'm asking you a couple questions. Are they struggling situationally, Kennington? Because you look at how we managed the clock last week against Vanderbilt. To me, you call that timeout before, not after. And then on top of that, Jalen needs to take some responsibility, but the momentum has swung and we come out and throw a pass versus running him. And then we come down at the end of the half and we let it run out and we call a pass play with 10 seconds. If you're going to do that, okay, fine, but throw it deep. Don't throw it underneath, and toward the sideline, right? And then last but not least, you look at our defensive philosophy situationally. Overall, if you look at third down, it wasn't really that big. They didn't do that great, right? I mean, it was about 50% or whatever, 40-something%, which is bad, but not as bad as it felt. Why did it feel so bad on third down? Because one drive they were 5 for 5, and then other drives, one of those third downs, they went for it on fourth and got a big one. So it seems like it's situational more to me that we don't seem to make as good a choices as we could.
Yeah.
And don't forget the onside kick. To me, call timeout and then you leave the big guys out there. Is that our hands team? Do you think that's our hands team?
I would have to put that on the hands team. When there are multiple
I'm saying the players that we have on the hands team. I think we should have got the ball. We should have got the recovery. That wasn't the coach's fault. I'm saying go back and look at the players they have on the hands team.
Yeah, I see I'm looking at the replay now. I see Robbie Oots. I see Josh Cuevas. Both touched the ball. Jamarian Latham, Deontay Lawson. There was a lot of defenders. There were some linemen. There was some. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You have Ryan Williams. You have Prentice. You have whoever your ball handlers are, DBs and wide receivers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Unless they're blocking.
The personnel out there was pretty baffling when you go back and rewatch it. I didn't see it live because, I'm trying to get an instant analysis out before, the buzzer. That's part of my job. And I look up, I just hear the crowd groaning. I look up, I see they recovered an onside. So I didn't see the replay of who was out there until afterwards. But I agree there. Special teams, and I've been writing about this it feels like every single week since the Wisconsin game, the special teams unit is bad. There's no way to say it any differently. The only bright spot on the special teams unit at this point is James Verno. They fumbled a kickoff 3 weeks in a row. They've had multiple penalties that have hurt the team. The personal foul that led to the safety the week before that, the 2 number 2s on the field that led to a Vanderbilt touchdown, the onside kick. The special teams unit has been bad pretty much all year. Graham Nicholson's only kicked 2 field goals. One was a miss. One was a very, very, very close make from 30 yards. So that unit is not buttoned up. And I do agree on the situational awareness and coaching of the team. It doesn't feel great. The interception that Milroe threw right before half, yes, it wasn't a great throw. I have no idea why he was in that situation in the first place because South Carolina gets that sack. 39 seconds left on the clock. South Carolina was good going to halftime. They had 3 timeouts and did not call a timeout. They were like, okay, we have the momentum. We can just take it right here. Bama lets it go down to 11 seconds, and then they throw the 3rd and 20. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish on that play. To your point, Martin, it was short of the sticks. It was to the sideline at best. If they catch that ball, the next play is a Hail Mary. There wasn't like a next play they could have gotten into field goal range and then attempted to kick a field goal. They were kind of going for the Hail Mary at that point, and then it ends up turning into 3 points the other way. So that was a pretty egregious sequence. When I watched, I was really stunned that happened. And then
Kennington, let me tell you how bad it was for me. I didn't even tell you this, guys. I'm watching it. And when Jalen drops back, my TV freezes. Like literally just froze. So I'm like, okay, we're throwing the ball with 10 seconds. Why? And then my TV wouldn't unfreeze and I'm turning it and it wouldn't unfreeze. I finally come back and South Carolina is lining up to kick a field goal. And I'm like, am I in a twilight zone? What the world? What is going on? Literally, I was so confused because it was like, there was only 10 seconds to go. I said, oh no, Jalen threw an intercept. I had to go back and find it and watch it myself, but I was like, wow, that's just bad.
That felt like a moment where there should have been some self-awareness, like, we have no momentum right now. The momentum is gone. We need to get to halftime and regroup. Yeah. We don't need to leave any more time on the field for something else crazy to happen. Enough craziness has already happened. Let's just go to half with this lead and see what we can do to regroup. And Kalen DeBoer, you talked about situational play again. DeBoer emphasizes the middle 8. Last 4 minutes of the second period going into the first 4 minutes of the third quarter, Alabama, that was a disaster, that middle 8 in this game. The last sequence before halftime going into the first possession of the second half. So that part was really bad on Saturday.
Yeah, that was so frustrating to watch.
Hey, let's get the break here, X. If you want, you can get George, but we need to get the break, and we have to talk to Kennington about Tennessee because I may be in Vol country right now, and their fans aren't feeling any different than we are. Just FYI. All right. Go ahead.
Let's go ahead and get George before the break. George, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. How y'all doing? Thanks for taking my call. Just about 3 or 4 comments. The onside kick, it's almost like we didn't know the rules. If you want to field the ball before 10 yards, you're not going to get hit. And also, remember, we took a timeout, but they showed us what they were going to do. And they did exactly what they showed us we're going to do. And why we didn't have, like you say, our really good hands people there is beyond me. Another thing is most of our problem is inconsistency. I mean, we don't know whether we're Matt Dillon or Miss Kitty half the time. Make a good play, make a horrible play. Those are just some things I don't quite understand is why can't we get consistency from the players and the coaching? And, you know, I always go back, Martin, I know that, you know, Bill Curry recruited you, and he's a good coach. He just won the right coach at Alabama. But there's one thing that he said after it was all over. You never know the enormity of the job until you get there. And I think that our coaches are struggling, just like you said. Sometimes they're doing what the fans want you to do. And what did Nick Saban say? You do what the fans want you to do, and eventually end up there sitting with the fans. And the jury is still out, you know, with our coaching staff. I'm not gonna be gloom and doom yet. Hopefully they can right the ship, but we are so inconsistent, it's not even funny. Just like you said, I mean, okay, just like at the end of the game, we intercept the pass. Why did he bring it out to run? I'm
not sure he wouldn't have got a safety, George. Everybody's saying he had to, but sometimes they'll let your momentum carry you in, and sometimes they don't. I think Malachi told him to come out.
Malachi definitely told him to come out. And if you look at that ref looked like he was waiting for him to take a knee to put up the safety sign.
I'm telling you, what are your thoughts, Kennington, on that? I thought he was gonna take a knee. In the moment, I said, "Don't take a knee, just run out and fall." Yeah, his keep running was bad, but I thought he made the right move coming out because it was too questionable to leave it in the ref's hands, in my opinion.
Yeah, do not ever leave it up to human error. Whatever you think the lay of the law is or what the rules are, that really doesn't mean anything week to week. We're talking about, the rule is this, the rule is that. How many times do we see referees blow calls, have questionable calls, make bad decisions? Do not leave it up in another person's hand. You control that part yourself. So I have no problem with running it out. Now, I'll give him a pick six. Was okay. Come on, but I agree with him running out.
But he should have slid when he got out.
Taking a knee. One more thing is on their touchdown reception. I really thought he did not have control of it because it went from his hands down his belly, and he didn't have control of it. In my mind, the way I saw it.
Hey, George, we have to get great thoughts there. I listen. This whole slow it down and stop it in this exact moment and all of this in slow motion stuff is getting out of hand with instant replay. I think if I'm a South Carolina fan, they got it right. Alabama fan, they got it wrong. One of the worst calls for me is when they stop and say his knee was down, his body was falling forward, so they stop it halfway in the middle of the play instead of where he would have fell. To me, if my knee is down, but I'm falling forward, I didn't gain any. The ball should be wherever I landed, not where I was in mid. I mean, it's just stupid. This whole, to Kennington's point, don't leave it up to officials. Thanks, George. We'll be back on the other side to get the finish and put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we're going to talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Salif. We'll talk to Martin Houston. We're recapping the Alabama-South Carolina game with the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is sponsored by Daniel Moore, and we start at 2 p.m. right here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, we are starting to pick up some volume in a couple spots right now. And Joe Malisham, you're definitely going to have that in both directions at Johnson and Foster's Ferry Road, between Johnson and Foster's Ferry Road. Also, we're looking at McFarland, not too much so.
Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
Got timberland in West Alabama or East Mississippi? North River Timber Company has you covered. Since 2011, Courtney White, a registered forester, along with his expert team, have been managing timberland and harvesting timber across 4 West Alabama counties. They offer comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment go unrealized. Call North River Timber Company today. Email them at northrivertimberco@gmail.com or call 205-242-5127. I'm Martin Houston, and I recently launched the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions organization. We speak, we train, we coach. As a John Maxwell certified leader and team member, I would love the opportunity to work with you and your organization, whether it's around building corporate culture, whether it's around team building, whether it's working with you one-on-one as an emerging leader, finding out more about who you are as an individual. With my DISC certification, I can help you be a better version of yourself. And to work with me, all you need to do is go to martinhouston.org/book me. That's martinhouston.org/book me. We love the opportunity to work with you. That's Empowerment Strategies and Solutions. We speak, we train, we coach. Don't forget to mark your calendar for December 12th as we'll be hosting the Live to Lead conference featuring John Maxwell, John Gordon, Malcolm Gladwell, and more. And we'll be hosting it at Bryant Conference Center. It's a half-day simulcast. Live to Lead presented by Empowerment Strategies and Solutions.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier as we close this one out with the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. Kennington, Alabama versus Tennessee this week. These are 2 programs that have had really high expectations coming into the season. You look at the last 2 weeks, they've lost to a team that they should have beaten. And then you look at the fact that they struggled to get a win the following week against opponents that many people feel like they should have dominated. What are your thoughts going into this game for Alabama?
Yeah, I think this is a huge game for the defense. I think you look at Tennessee's offense, they are searching for answers in the same way that many feel like Alabama's defense is searching for answers. Tennessee is as good at running the ball, and they are running it probably as much as they can offensively. They cannot throw the ball down the field. Nico is really struggling on passes, really 10 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and beyond. He was 6 of 22 going into the Florida game in SEC play. Did not improve against Florida. So that's going to be the matchup to me, is who is going to have their get-right game. Is it going to be Tennessee's offense or is it going to be Alabama's defense? So that is, to me, the biggest matchup of the week and is probably going to dictate the game.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this game, I've looked at the last 2 weeks. I've watched both games for Tennessee, and I'm going, Kane, forget your tendencies. Bring the pressure.
Yeah, go after him.
Go after Nico. He's a young quarterback. He's extremely talented, but I'm going, man, if Arkansas and Florida can blitz him, and get him off his mark, he will struggle. So I need to see something.
Let me ask you this, Kennington, about this Tennessee game. Tennessee Florida should have beat them by 3 scores. Napier, I probably would have fired Napier after that game because of what they did at the end of the half, taking the 3 points off and inside the 24 times. But here's my question. Is Tennessee's defense overranked based on what they did? Because when stupid coaching, Mark should have been in every series. They had no pass defense for him. They just moved the ball down the field till they got to the red zone, but they kept going back and forth. Is this defense, Tennessee, vulnerable to a good passing quarterback based on what you've seen the last few games? Because a mobile passing quarterback, dual threat guy.
Yeah. I mean, you look at what Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway both had success against, Tennessee to varying degrees. This is a defense I feel like is vulnerable. I think they might have maybe figured a couple of things out, maybe from a pass rush perspective. That was supposed to be the strength of this Tennessee defense, was the edge guys kind of getting after the quarterbacks. That'll be an interesting matchup. James Pearson, those guys against Alabama's offensive line, who had a little bit of trouble in the first half against South Carolina, kind of corrected a little bit in the second half. So this is a Tennessee defense that can be had, though. So you have to be able to go in there with an efficient plan and be able to hit some explosives, obviously, which Bama's done against everyone. So this is a defense that I think the numbers are kind of skewing how well they've played. Once they've gotten to SEC play, it's been a little bit different. I think there's going to be some opportunities for Alabama to score some points on Saturday.
Yeah, I want us to take advantage of the things that you see on tape. And I think that's what these coaches have kind of not done well, since the Georgia game. There are some things that they can look at from Tennessee when they play quality competition after they got out of this, non-conference schedule that makes you go, hey, do this, do that. I think South Carolina has one of the best defensive lines in the country, and I don't think it's close. And I'm just looking at James Pierce. If you stop James Pierce, I think you can have plenty of time, but just make adjustments. We didn't see any chips or anything. Yeah.
Let me get Kennington one more. Hey, Kennington, what do you have with Texas and Georgia?
It does not look good for the Dogs. The vibes are not great. The vibes are not great in Athens, Georgia. They're not. I mean, Georgia hasn't played well in 3 weeks. There's off-the-field issues. There's arrests going on. The vibes are not great, and Texas might have one of them type of games against Georgia on Saturday, one of those statement we're here type of games.
Yeah, and I hope they don't, and I'm hoping that the craziness of the SEC continues when Vandy has something that hasn't been literally stated in probably 50 years. Vandy on a 2-game win streak in the SEC. So maybe Georgia can find a way to beat Texas. That's Kennington Smith. Kennington, do you have Bama taking care of Tennessee? Tennessee taking care of Bama?
I do have Bama taking care of Tennessee. Just feel like the offense is going to be able to kind of dictate the pace. I do think the defense is going to get after Nico and win the game, but it might take some years off of fans' lives.
Trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. For the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, that's Kennington Smith III on Martin Houston. That's Xavier Houston. That's Chase Brumfield. Roll Tide, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with DC.